With today being Saturday, it's a perfect time to have a look at the markets and what we've noticed in the past 5 days, because a week has now concluded and now we're looking at the trend for the past 5 days and talking about what this means, because on the past 5 days things are looking a little bit red for DWAC. Come down here onto the simple chart and that becomes a bit more clear. We're falling today, and actually in the past 5 days as well. We closed Friday being down by 3.87%, and going forwards into after hours we decreased by about another 0.5%. So come out to the 5 day chart, you will see that we actually dropped from our high, which was up here at 61, and from there we have been going down ever since. So I want to talk about that with you guys in this video. Do make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, because we are officially on 13,000 subscribers as of the time of filming this video. We're on 13,001, so I must say to you guys, thank you for everything so far. Let's keep it going. Please do keep subscribing if you enjoy the videos, and it does help us out. Now, on top of that as well, remember, I am not a financial advisor. This is not going to be financial advice, it's just my personal opinion. It can be completely wrong, it's just what I personally believe. And the third and final thing that I want to remind you of is that we are doing a fundraiser right now for Save the Children. Now, I talk about this in every single episode, but I must thank you as well for raising up to $320 right now. Let's try keep this one going into next week. Bear in mind, it does conclude on Christmas Eve, so the more we can raise going forwards into the festive period, the better and the more good we will be doing. So if you can donate, please do. But so far I am actually astounded. Let's keep it going into next week. So where I want to start us off over here is on the simple chart, and actually of course we're going to start off by just analysing what we've seen throughout the day. So Friday, whilst it was a red day, it's not the worst in the world. Again, down by about 4%. But what it really is, in my opinion, is it's the fact that it's another drop for DWAC. Now, we're going to focus off on what we saw in the morning, and you'll see that from 9:30, things were looking okay. Yes, we had a little bit of a drop from our open price of 8.84, but yeah, we started to actually move up a little bit until about 9:55. Now, this took us to a point of 58.50, and from there, it all started to go downhill very, very quickly. Now, coming forwards into about 11:30, you can see that we sat on a price of 56.71, and from that point we actually had quite a flat day. Yes, we had big moves up and moves downwards, but really look at where we were from this point at the low all the way to the close price. It wasn't really too far off at all, again closing on a price of 56.69. Now, the trend that I'm talking about becomes a bit more apparent in the past 5 days. Yes, we have been lower in the past 5 days. For example, back on Tuesday, we sat on a price of $55 exactly. So the fact that we're higher than that right now is a good thing, but obviously it is still another week in the red for this stock. And I think it does get people a bit concerned when we think about this one. Come out to the past month and you will see things are kind of heading down as time goes on. Now, like I said, we have been lower than this, so that is kind of reassuring, but it is still another week in the red, and especially for people who bought in here, and here, it is going to be quite concerning to watch, I do believe. And you know, the question is, what are people going to do going forwards? Because like I said in the beginning, and like I am going to continue to say, this is one of these stocks where the people do have the power. We've seen a lot of retail investors buying into this stock, and right now a lot of these retail investors are holding the stock. I do believe that some are going to be selling, and I understand that people think that other factors are in play, like shorting of the stock, and yeah, that's completely fine as well, that's definitely possible. But the main factor, in my opinion, that is going to be a driver of price is ultimately going to be how people feel about the stock and what the retail investors choose to do. Now, this has been apparent in AMC and GME. Both of those stocks have managed to remain at the levels that they have been at for such a long time, simply due to the fact that the retail investors behind them haven't lost any interest at all. So I think this is completely possible to happen with DWAC, but right now we are still in the early days and we are still trying to find out where these levels of support and resistance are going to be. Now, we're going to acknowledge this a bit further on the 1 month chart, but first I want to take a look at the 1 day and 5 day on the technical side for you guys and give you a few updates. So for those of you who are interested, our moving average is just a little bit higher than where we are. Now, as you will know from my previous videos, I don't pay too much attention onto 1 day data. I don't think it's that important at all unless you are day trading, but if you are interested, you will see that we're just below our moving average. You can see the purple tab just sticking out over the top here. We're looking at a MACD trend which is looking a bit bearish, but it is coming back up, and the reason why it is bearish in the first place is because we had that initial dip towards the very end of session, as you would expect for Friday. So there you go. And coming up to the RSI figure, we're sat on 49, so it's not too bad at all. You know, it is exactly where we want it to be for this time period, but it has been quite a flat day for the majority of the afternoon anyway, so you would expect it to be in line with where we are. Now, the volume for Friday was relatively low. You'll see we had our big volume times, or at least relatively big volume times, because it wasn't big at all, but that was later in the day when we had this dip, and that was quite bearish volume. We had a little bit of bullish volume here, and you can see just a bit down here and here, but not really too significant at all in my opinion, and that becomes a bit more apparent on the 1 month chart, but we'll get to that when we see it in just a few moments. Now I want to have a look at the 5-day, and again, the moving average, just a tiny bit above where we are. This is pretty good, but you would also expect it because the trend has been down in the past 5 days, but in the past 2 or 3 days, we've not been dropping so much. Yes, we're dropping by, 2, 3, 4% on the day, but clearly it's not too big of a deal for the moving average because it does give it enough time to catch up. Now, especially going forwards into Friday afternoon, it has definitely had that time. Now, our RSI for this time period is going to be sat on 43. That's 7 points away from neutral. Is that too big of a deal? In my opinion, it's not the most important thing in the world. It's just a little bit low. Again, see this one come back up to normal levels and I would be a bit more happy. And the reason why I do believe it is so low in the first place is because we did have that small dip towards the end of Friday, as I did suggest. Now, come down to the volume figure and you'll see the trend that we have noticed in the past week. The volume candles on Friday have now disappeared. You can barely even see them at all because volume on Friday was pretty low, and actually into Thursday it was quite low as well. Now, one thing that's apparent here as well, you can see in the early days of the week, big volume, and of course coming out to the later section of the week, the volume is decreasing. Now, this is also apparent on the 1 month chart, as you will see a high volume back here, very, very high, well above 250 million, but as time has gone on, we've seen these steps downwards. It's been steps down and down and down with the volume figures, and that has been continuing as time goes on. So you can see our volume figures have been reducing. We've not really seen a big volume day in a while, and volume is of course a big driver of price, because do bear in mind, volume, it can be indicative of people selling or buying the stock. If we have some bullish volume, people will be buying the stock inevitably, and it's that sort of thing that does show us that people are still talking about the stock, people are still putting their money where their mouth is and buying the stock or selling the stock, and right now we're not seeing too high volume. So the one thing that we are seeing from this is that, of course, with low volume, it shows that not many people are really selling either. So a lot of people are still holding on to their DWAC. But of course, if we do have the interest kind of slow down over time and people start to get bored, we could still start to see those drops. But so far, the price is holding up in the $50 range, which is a good thing. Now, on the 1 month chart, you will see we actually do now have our MACD figure. It is coming down over time. You can see it's becoming a bit lower, and this MACD figure is not really something that we have had access to before, so the data is still quite unfinished and not really too significant in my opinion, because we don't have the full chart to read off, but that's what we're seeing for that. You can see that our RSI figure is now coming down to more normal levels, and it really has been for a while. Back here we were sat on 100, which is really overbought. Now, overbought does start at 80, so you can see, that's when we start to get into the overbought territory. Coming up from there, we go to 90, 100. 100 is as high as it goes, so to see this one at 100 is really, really high. And now we're coming back down to 59. Now, 50 itself is going to be neutral. 9 points off it, it's a little bit high, but of course we are coming down as time goes on. So I would kind of expect this trend of neutralizing to continue into the next week. Now, our volume, like I said, is coming down. We want our volume to come back into the stock, and that is going to be a big driver of movement in my opinion. So what do I think to DWAC this week? I think this week isn't too bad, because what we are seeing is that the price is still decreasing, which is true, but we have been lower than that in the past. Now, what I want to highlight is a few of these days back here where we have seen quite low, quite low prices. You will see that especially on this day back here, we saw a low price which was down at $52. Now, currently we're sat on a low price for Friday, which was at $56, or in the $56 range. So you'll see, yes, we have been lower than that on this day here, and again, that can be a good thing. Come out to this day as well, you'll see relatively low prices coming down to 54 too. So the fact that our price is remaining stable above that is a good sign. Now, what I'm looking for into the next week is I want this price to stay above 50 exactly. If we dip lower, coming down to 51, 52, lower than where we have been in the past, I mean, if we dip lower than that, that's not the worst thing in the world, because, as long as it stays above 50, I think that does show quite a strong sentiment behind the stock. Now, a dip below 50 would start to get me concerned because, like I said, we have managed to stay above 50. We found those levels of lows in the past, but because we have so little data, less than a month's worth of rise we have to go off, it really is going to be about finding those floors. Now, I could be completely wrong. We could have already found that floor, like I said, at that low $50 mark or just above it when we went down there in the past. But really, for absolute lows of this stock into the next week, I am looking at 50. Now, would I consider this stock a buy right now? It definitely depends, and I always say this one, but I think with this one, it is going to be very, very high risk. If I am looking to invest in this stock, I would definitely say do not expect big returns immediately. I'm not looking for those big price jumps on a day-to-day basis anymore. It can happen, and if it does happen, of course, I would personally look to take profits. But I think this one could be more of a mid-term hold. Now, I would see it as a swing trade. I understand that some people are invested in this company, like where it is going, and that's completely fine. We all have different investment strategies, and different things work for different people. But if I personally was looking to invest in this stock, I would go for more of a swing trade approach. I think that would probably be the most beneficial way to go. Just my personal opinion, like I said, do not take this as financial advice, as it is only my thoughts on it, but tell me what you have to say down below, because I do want to hear everything that you have to say. Goodbye until the next one, but now I'm going to tell you about our Discord server. So thank you for watching through till the end, but let me tell you about our Discord. So on your screen you will be seeing the N2S Finance Discord. Obviously it is split into multiple sections. Basically at the top we have updates from me and all that kind of good stuff. If you scroll down a bit further we have the main sections where we focus on cryptos, SPACs and other hot stocks including penny stocks, even stable growth stocks as well, and we even have a special AMC GME chat. If you scroll down you can see some research and DD from the community. We also have funny memes and you can see actual contributions from members down here. And again, if you do join us, it is completely free, link is down below. But if you do want to become a Patreon, you will actually get a pink sticker which will be displayed on your name. So your name will come up in pink as mine comes up in red down here, and that will show that you are a Patreon. But other than that guys, you can join completely for free down below. You do not have to pay anything if you do not want to. Thank you for watching, see you soon.